Good afternoon to everyone, and thank you very much for coming and joining this prayer. It is very important for us to have a proper motivation. So when we talk about motivation, right, there are many types of motivation. So for example, the motivation to help others, or maybe, to wish that all sentient beings may have a peaceful and happy life. Or even, a motivation to do something for oneself or, other sentient beings. Since every time we always talk about before you do anything, you should have a proper motivation. But sometimes, and because of we emphasize on the motivation so much, a lot of people think that, if you need to do something, first you need to have a proper motivation, right? As if the motivation always comes first, but it is not true all the time. In our daily life, right, all of us, most of the reason why we are not very good at doing, anything is because we lack of motivation. We are not motivated enough every day. That's why we are not doing much. So sometime, right, so if you don't have a motivation, we just have to do things. For example, if you don't have a motivation to do 100 prostrations, and most of the people, as I said, think, I don't have a motivation, that's why maybe I should not do prostration. But the thing is that sometimes, the motivation comes after, the action. So the reason why I'm telling you is because I want to clarify that you don't have to wait until there is a motivation in you that makes you to do prostration. Sometimes you just need to do prostration, and meanwhile you might have the motivation. So this is very important for us to understand. So not only in terms of practicing dharma, right, but also sometimes you think, this is something that I must do, but you feel not motivated enough, right? So don't wait until you have the motivation. You just do it. For example, walking, or maybe taking a shower, or maybe doing exercise. Sometimes we don't have the motivation first, and we don't do it most of the time. That's the reason, right? I'm not motivated enough. I feel very lazy now. I don't have the motivation. So we skip it, right? So in order to avoid this kind of bad habits, we must do it anyway. And meanwhile we are doing it, we might find the motivation. And this is very important for us to practice every day. So that's why, even though you wanted to chant a lot of mantras, like many people, they have this kind of homework to at least chant mantra for 1,000, but you are not motivated enough, right? For example, now some people might want to do some sadhanas, right? But you think, I'm not motivated enough. You don't have to wait for the motivation. You just do it. That's very important. Now, if you talk about Buddhist practice, right, we need to understand why we are, practicing Buddhism. What is the purpose for practicing Buddhism? The main purpose for us to practice Buddhism, right? Now, when I say practice Buddhism, even you coming here to join this puja is also one of the one types of practice, right? So why are you coming here to join this puja? What is the purpose? The purpose has always the need to transform our mind. That's the purpose for doing all these practices of Buddhism. So when I say transform our mind, right, what do I mean? I mean, for example, if you are someone who are not very compassionate person, right, now because of practice of Buddhism, you should be a little bit more compassionate than you were yesterday. That's the change that we must bring in our life by practicing Buddhism. And it is not very easy for us to change, really. It is not easy for us to change because we have been that person for the last 30 years, 40 years, and all of a sudden you join a Buddhist center and you expect to be a very, compassionate person. It is impossible because that's a habit that we had already, right? So to break a habit, we need to create another habit, which takes time. So it is not easy for us to change, but we have to begin from very, very small changes that we must bring in our life. So now how do we change ourselves, right? We can only change ourselves if these teachings of Buddha and Bodhisattvas, if we bring those teachings in our daily life, if we practice them in our daily life, then we can change. If we don't bring them in our daily life, then there's no way we can change.